Hi, I'm Amy from Peekaboo Pattern Shop, and today we're going to learn how to sew a placket. You can add a placket to pretty much any garment that has a neckline. You can use either snaps, or you can also make them with buttons, which is really cute. You can do it with a neckband, or you can also use this for a pattern with a hood. And plackets just add a bit of extra style, and if you're dressing a baby or toddler, it also makes it much easier to pull over their head because it makes your opening so much wider. So if you have a kid that's difficult to dress, you may want to add plackets to almost everything you sew, just so you don't have to fight that battle getting dressed. So let's get started. The first step in sewing a placket is to mark the placket opening. So on this particular shirt, my placket opening is going to be 2.5 inches long. So you find the center of your shirt. I find the easiest way to do that is to just fold it in half and press, and that'll give you a line to use as a guideline. And then you'll take your ruler and you're going to measure over half the distance of your finished placket. So my finished placket is going to be 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to mark 3/8 of an inch from the center to the left side, and then mark 2.5 inches down, since I'm doing a 2.5 inch placket. This is a newborn size shirt. So I've marked my placket opening in the blue line, and then you will stay stitch from 1/4 inch to the left and the right of your marked line down to the point. So just this little triangle of stitching right here. And then you need to cut that opening right on your line. Just cut right down to the bottom, but make sure you don't cut through the threads. And that's going to be the placket opening. So for the placket pieces, you're going to have two pieces. You have the placket and the placket facing. The placket will be the width of your finished placket times 2 plus seam allowances. So for my project, that means I have a 2-inch placket. Once it's done, it'll be 3/4 of an inch. So I have 3/4 inch plus 1/4 inch seam allowance on each side. My placket facing is 1.25 inches wide. I have my 3/4 inch, that's my finished placket, plus seam allowances on either side. And then you'll put a strip of interfacing 1/4 inch from one long edge down both pieces. So cut your interfacing to the same width as your finished placket. For the length of the placket, you want to make it 1 inch longer than your placket opening. This is going to give you a little extra. I normally end up cutting about 1/2 inch off at the end, but I'd rather make it a little long than a little too short, because if you make it too short, you're going to have to start over. So I have all my pieces ready, and we are ready to start sewing. So I just finished the edges of my placket and placket facing with a serger. You don't have to do that, but it does give a little bit nicer finish. And now I'm ready to sew the placket to the shirt. So with right sides of your fabric together, this is the right side of my placket, you're going to pin it to the shirt, and you want to line up 1/4 inch from the placket edge, so right on the edge of the interfacing, with this line of stay stitching right here. So I'm going to pin this to the opening on the left hand side of the shirt. So on the back, what it's going to look like, you're going to see it starts out with the edges lined up, but then as you get to the bottom, to keep this line of stitching lined up with the edge of your interfacing, 1/4 inch from the edge, you're going to have a little bit of fabric peeking out. So this stitching line is lined up with 1/4 inch from the edge of my placket. And now I'm going to go sew this right on top of this line, stopping at the bottom of the placket opening. I'm ready to sew the placket to the shirt. I actually find this is easiest to do from the wrong side, so I can see where my stay stitching line is and make sure I'm staying right on top of it. So I have my placket pinned here on the bottom, and I'm going to start right at the bottom of my placket opening. have the placket piece sewn on, so now it's time to sew on the placket facing. So we're going to do the exact same thing, but on the opposite side. Line up 1/4 inch from the long edge with the stay stitching. And just like before, the edges are going to be lined up here at the top when you start, but by the time you get down to the bottom of the placket opening, they're not going to line up anymore. But the stay stitching will be 1/4 inch from this edge of the placket facing, just like before. So I'm going to go sew this in place. You need to make sure you stop right at the bottom of the placket opening, otherwise it's going to pucker. So make sure you have the tail of this placket. You want to make sure that's out of the way while you sew. So keeping my stay stitching line 1/4 inch from the edge of the placket facing, I'm sewing right on top of that line. I just go really slow as I get towards the bottom. Make sure I have this placket out of the way. I'm going to stop right at the bottom of the placket opening. I have the placket and placket facing sewn. So now what you're going to do is turn them to the inside of your project so that wrong sides are together, and you'll be able to see the placket start taking shape. So on the inside, the placket facing is just going to go right like this, and later we're going to top stitch this down, and the placket gets folded in half this way, and that's how they overlap. So you can check for, this is what it should look like on the inside, and then you can check on the front. See, here's our placket. It'll open just like this. So you could, if you don't care about having your neckline really pretty at the top, you could go ahead and top stitch along here on the placket to hold it down, and on the, sorry, this side's the placket. Top stitch along this edge to hold the placket down, and along here to do the placket facing. But I'm actually going to wait to do that until I get my neckband sewn on, and that way we can enclose the raw edge of the neckband in the placket. So I'm going to get the sleeves and the back attached to this, and then we'll put the neckband on. I have the sleeves and the back sewn on, so now I'm ready to do the neckband. Sometimes I do the side seams before the placket as well, but since this is a newborn size, I decided to do the side seams last so I'd have a little more room to work. So if you are using a pattern that did not include a placket, you're going to want to make a new neckband piece that is curved at the tip for your Henley neckline. So here's mine, all cut out. And you're going to fold it in half with the wrong sides together and press it flat. Then you'll find the center back of the neckband and pin it to the center back of your shirt. Okay, and you'll bring these ends around to the front, and this looks backwards. I always get a lot of questions about this. I know it looks backwards, but it is right. So you'll just curve these raw edges up to meet the neckline. So on the side with your facing, I'm going to curve it up to meet just right at that seam. And you want these seam allowances. Well, actually for this one they can go either way. But you want that to curve right up to the neckline. So you'll pin that, and then stretch the neckband to fit the rest of the shirt and pin it in place. And then on the other side, which is the side with the placket, you're going to pin the neckband halfway into the placket, so right at the edge of that interfacing. And on this one, you do need the seam allowance to go towards the placket. And then stretch again in between so the neckband fits your neckline. I'm ready to sew the neckband to the neckline. Since I'm using a serger, I did baste just about an inch of the neckband in place so that it doesn't wiggle away from me. So you will need to stretch the neckband to match the neckline as you go. Now that the neckband is sewn on, we just need to finish the top edge of this placket. So on the side with the placket facing, you're going to fold it back over to so that right sides of the fabric are together. So just like this, and then you're just going to sew a 1/4 inch below the edge, and that'll finish the top edge of the placket facing. Now on the side with the placket, you're going to fold 3/4 inches, or if you did a different width placket, whatever the width of your finished placket is, that's how far from this edge right here you're going to fold it over. You're going to fold it over just like that, and top stitch 1/4 inch below the top edge of the placket. Sewed across the top edge of the placket and the placket facing. So now to just cut down on some bulk, I'm just going to trim off this top corner. So my stitching line is right here. I'm not going to cut off my stitching line. I'm just going to trim a bit of the bulk. And you'll turn those right side out. There's our neckband right in between there. Here's our placket. And turn the placket facing. So now we just need to do some top stitching and add either some buttons or some snaps. So to top stitch, we're going to go all the way around the neckline and finish on the opposite side. So on the side with the placket facing, you're just going to be top stitching the placket facing right to the shirt. That's all there is there. I'm just going to sew 3/4 inches from my edge, since that's how big my placket is. And on this side, you want to tuck all these little seams inside the placket so that it's nice and pretty on the inside. So tuck all those in and pin them in place. So on the placket, you'll top stitch right on this edge, just starting at the bottom of the placket opening, and then go around the neckline. So you can start on either side. I'm going to start on the side with the placket facing. I'm just sewing the edge of the placket facing to the shirt. I want to start right at the bottom of my placket opening. And now I'm going to go all the way around the neckline. And I'm just using a long straight stitch for this step. It has a little bit of give, which will be plenty since there's some snaps there to help it go over the head. Okay, so now I'm over on the placket side. I want to make sure all the seams are still tucked in all the way inside the placket. I'm going to stop right when I get to the bottom of the placket. Sorry, the placket opening. You won't want to sew all the way to the bottom of the placket. You should have about an inch of extra placket. So here's where I stopped. To finish up your placket, you just need to add either snaps or buttons, and then top stitch a little rectangle here at the bottom of the placket for reinforcement. So this is my placket opening. It ends right here, and then the rectangle goes above it, not below. And then on the inside, you should have about an inch of extra placket. You'll just trim that off. If you have a serger, you can use that to finish it, or you can just trim as close to the edge as possible and leave it. So if I'm doing snaps, I normally sew this first, the reinforcement stitching, and then add the snaps. But if I'm doing buttonholes, I normally sew the buttonholes first and then do the stitching. So just depending on what method you're using, you'll have to decide what to do first. So for snaps, you put the stud side on the placket, the socket side on the placket facing. For buttonholes, your buttonholes will go here and the buttons here. And then your placket is all finished. Happy sewing!